Hello everyone and welcome to this video from Swim England East Region. My name is Kevin and I'm one of the team here at the region that supports clubs, coaches, parents and of course our swimmers. We already have some great resources on our website for parents out there, so please make sure you head over and check that out. That's www.eastswimming.org. Head to swimming and then swimming development and you'll see the resources link there. On our video today, we're very fortunate to be joined by Caroline Peaty, swimming parent to the greatest swimmer that Great Britain has ever produced. Caroline shares some great thoughts with us today, including some really interesting takeaway messages. So I'd urge everyone out there watching to share this as far and as wide as possible as they can in their circles, because we really believe that some of the things that come out of today's discussion will be useful for everyone to hear. So let's get into it. We hope to enjoy today's video. Lessons learned on the swimming journey, a discussion with Caroline Peaty. Hello, thanks for joining us, Caroline. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, we've got some really exciting stuff to move through today, but if you can just give everyone who's watching out there just a bit of a flavour as to why you're joining us today and what your swimming story is.
My name's Caroline Peaty, and you probably recognise the surname. I'm the mother of Adam Peaty, Olympic champion, and I'm just here to tell you about my swimming journey, really, and and give you some hopeful hints on how to get through how many ever years that you do.
Yeah, and it's for some of us it's a very long journey, so we'll unpick that as we go through today. To get us started, obviously everyone knows Adam, but actually, there's siblings involved as well with this story. So if you just give us a bit of a family overview as to what Adam's kind of family network looks like.
Right, okay. He's the youngest of 4 children. And I think that has helped no end, him being the last child, because with the amount of input that Adam has had, I don't think I'd have been able to do it if he was the eldest and then other children came along afterwards, because the journey is very intense. Also, he's got his nan, who's been part of the swimming journey in his later years, and his dad, who's sort of always in the background. He was like the support network. When I was doing all the journeys, he would get breakfast ready for Adam when we got back from training, so I could just go straight off to work. So it's one big family team effort.
I'm curious as to how you timetabled all that in, because most people, when they hear what a swimmer does and the lifestyle that the swimming parent often has to live, that's scary enough with one child. But what was it like having 4 children? I mean, I'd imagine some of them doing different sports or activities at the same time.
When Adam started swimming, he was 14. So the next one was 16. The next one was 19 and the other one was 21. So they were going through college and then they were going into work. So I didn't really need to have hands-on with them, and they were quite independent anyway. But like when I talk to my children now, they'll just say, well, like my eldest son, he calls Adam the golden child, because of all the time and the attention that he's had. But they've all had that time. But you've got all those sort of, that you've got all those feelings in the mix as well. But on the whole, they're very supportive of Adam. So I didn't really have to do a lot with those children. But when Adam started his swimming, and then I don't know where you want me to start, actually. Do you want me to start from the beginning or?
Yeah, I think for so many of us in there, and obviously a lot of swimmers tend to start quite early on. So I think it's probably quite a surprise for people out there to hear that Adam actually started quite late, and what that journey was like into the swimming world for you, having not had, 3 other siblings potentially already involved in the swimming world.
No, because they're not in competition. They've all had swimming lessons, because I'm a very strong believer in that young children all learn to swim it's a life skill they really do need, and I can't push that enough. So they've all swam, they've all had the swimming lessons, but Adam took part in a school competition with other schools. And I think it was it was Dove Valley. They were trying to get swimmers into the club, the swimmers that had potential, and Adam was chosen. But Adam has got a very strong competitive spirit. He really has. And he wanted to do that. So I said, well, okay. But at that time, Bethany and Adam were doing gymnastics.
Okay.
So they both did that, which was fine. So that carried on for a while. And then a new coach came in from the city of Derby, John Lewis. And he kept saying, why don't you send him for a trial at Derby? And I kept saying, no, I don't want to drive. I'm not a driver. I'm not a strong driver. I don't like driving at all. And also at this point, I was really poorly, very ill. And so we had a lot of decisions to make because the illness hasn't gone away. So I've had to juggle an illness with work and with a degree. I was studying a degree at the same time. And without my husband, I wouldn't have been able to do all that. And, Adam wouldn't have got as far. But anyway, eventually gave in. He went for a trial. One of our neighbours, granddads took them, to him and Kyle to City of Derby. So they had a trial there. And then Adam was absolutely pants, I think, to start with his front crawl. Mal will always tell you she'll throw him out the ball. But then he did his breaststroke. And he saw a boy there, Keske his name was, and he was a really fast swimmer in breaststroke, and that sort of got Adam's interest, and he wanted to go back. And then I think after a little while, Mel said I wanted to call a meeting, and she said that he needed to do early mornings. Well, I wasn't up for that at all because of my illness as well, and going to work. I had to be at work for 7:30, which was about 13 miles away. So she sort of nudged me in the direction of starting off slow, and she soon increased it. That's Mel for you. And then we went from there really, and he got faster. He's always eyed somebody that he could, target and then race in competition and win. That's him. And that's what he's done all the way through.
We've always seen that. I think it's played out on every single level. Like he always seems to be chasing the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think I remember listening to an interview not too long after Rio, and someone said to Mel, well, what next? You've already climbed Mount Everest. What is there left to do? And she said, yeah, but now I want to climb it better. And I think maybe having a coach and an athlete that both have that kind of mindset of, constantly pushing forwards and exploring the next challenge is perhaps what's allowed him to get so far. So that's fascinating. How was that first step in? I mean, you talked, obviously about the passion for swimming lessons, but when you first went into the club and you thought, did you have any support of this is what the swimming world's like? Did you kind of have any idea of what you were getting yourself into?
No, no, none whatsoever. It's about the cost. I don't like mentioning the cost because, you do what you have to do, but I think every swim parent needs to realise that, swimming is not a cheap sport. It really isn't. Like you could just go and get him a pair of trunks to go into the normal club. Never even been to an open meet. So it was scary for me really because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I got him into open meets. So the first open meet he went into, and then he did some of the Midlands and the Staffordshire, like the meets. And I hadn't got a clue. I really hadn't. I didn't know what he had to wear. I didn't know anything about food. So all I thought about is just like filling in with carbohydrate, something to renew his energy pretty quick. So, and also like the cost of entry into the open meets. It's not just about paying for the subscription into the clubs, is it? You've got to pay for open meets, new jammers,
travel, hotels, more food, siblings if they're coming along as well.
Yeah, well, Adam and I did it all on our own. We did it because it was cheaper that way, because like we're not a rich family. Both of us work, um, but it's enough, for our family to live and for us to have, the basic things in a holiday. But, cost was a major thing. The cost of jammers, the cost of petrol going to and from Derby, plus my work, the wear and tear on the car. There's a lot of things to consider, but I wouldn't change it because the love that he's had for his sport, and even if he didn't get an Olympic medal, his, it's made him as a person because he's got that commitment. Because I've always taught my children that if no matter what they try, they have to see it through to the end. Like if I've paid for like a course of swimming lessons, they have to see it through till the end. Then they can decide what they want to do afterwards. So we've always done that. And I can always remember at the Midland swimming meet, John Plant from Dove Valley took us because he'd qualified for his Midland, the qualification for that. And that was just a big eye opener. There were so many people, if you're not in from the swimming community, it's a bit of a shock. It really is. And like he bought him the sweatshirt thing for him, as a treat for going. And he took me there because there was no way I was driving to Coventry, because I've had this battle with Mel all the time about travel. And there he was racing. I always thought he was good, and but there's a lot of children faster than him. But his time increased, and we were all happy with that anyway. And he was really extremely happy. But I think they all began to start to notice that he has got he'd got a talent as well, and he's got this drive, and he's got the stamina, which he takes after his dad's got that, not me. I'd give up at first base. So for a new parent going into swimming, you really need to realise that it's time, it's cost, and physically it's draining. If you've got other children, you really have got to consider what you're doing, because it's not for the faint-hearted. It really isn't, because like 4:30 in the morning, those were killers, and then going to do a 10-hour shift at work.
Well, I was going to ask some of the challenges you probably encountered quite early on in the journey, and you've already talked about, I guess, the cost and the travel element, and I guess not knowing about like the nutrition side of things and all of that. How did all of that factor into school? Because that's obviously for most under 18s now a constant battle, whether they're swimming once a week or 10 times a week.
Adam seemed to manage, actually. He did really well. They sort of, he went in and he'd do his homework. Sometimes he'd skip his homework, but he managed, and he came out with some really good GCSE grades, because he knew that if he was swimming, he'd need to get an education. And once he'd got his basic education, that was up to him then, whether he carried it on or, started or stopped and did his swimming. Like he always used to say, I can pick up education again at any point, because he did go to Derby to study sport. And after that one, he found it was quite demanding. The timetable wasn't leaving him enough time to train. So then he decided then to leave his education at A level and then go back into full-time swimming.
Yeah, you can always go into it later on, for sure.
Yeah, you can always go back to education. I did my degree at 39, so I'm quite a great believer with that. I'm just trying to think as well.
What I guess earlier on as well, it's not just swimming, because I'd imagine if he came into it quite late, was he doing any other activities? Because I think when I've spoke to him in the last few years, he talked about, is it BMXing he was quite into and things like that. And I think one of the parents' challenges when I talk to swimming parents up and down the country is, how do you balance other sports, especially at a young age? And was that something he did quite naturally, or do you think as it got more serious, he made the choice, or how did that kind of dynamic play out?
We had a discussion regarding the gymnastics, because he's mainly into gymnastics. And I said that, we can't really do the two, so what is your choice going to be? And he chose swimming.
How old was he at that point?
Probably was he about 12? probably about 11, 12,
Yeah.
something like that. But ages, they just go through, the years have just flown. So I'm not really good at recalling what age of this and that and the other. Another challenge, going back to challenges that I found, was parents, other parents within this swimming community. I found that quite difficult because there's lots of pushy parents, you know, sort of saying horrible things about the coach. And I don't like being in that kind of environment, you know, when they're telling their children off if they haven't done as well in a meet. You know, I don't like that at all.
How did you manage all of that then? Because obviously, you've already got quite a few challenges with all these other different areas. So when you first went into the swimming environment and saw that for the first time, what was your kind of immediate response? Did you just kind of step back from it, or just let it go over your head? Or
I just let it go over my head. Certain times that I would speak my mind, you know, but most of the time I'd just ignore it. And I think that's why my relationship with Mel is so good, is because I put a lot of trust in Mel. She dealt with that side of things and never interfered with swimming. The only time I did interfere with swimming is prior to Mel, is when I took him to an open meet. That again was in Coventry, and he had a bit of a tantrum because he didn't win. And I said, well, you either pack it in now and we go home, or you deal with it and you can stay. I bet he won't remember that, actually, you know, but that's very clear in my head, you know, because I can't be doing with tantrums like that at, you know, at 14. They should be past it at that point.
he doesn't like losing now, to be honest.
No, he doesn't. No, I wouldn't like to be around him if he loses.
Although that doesn't happen often, so I guess
No.
the two things go hand in hand for him.
Yeah.
When you
So
when you look back, would you, if you could give a message to, I guess, parents just starting out, maybe kids that have done lessons and they've gone into the local club and they're maybe 11 and 12, which is when a lot of kids tend to come into the sport in some way, shape or form, what would you kind of say to new parents out there that are just getting going, and whether their kid's going to go on and become the next Olympic champion, or whether they just want to make it to 18 and be a young, fit, healthy adult when they're in their future? What would you say to them, or even to yourself looking back?
I'd just enjoy, make it fun, because initially it was so much fun, you know, seeing him race. The pleasure that we got out of that was absolutely fantastic. Whether he won or lost, you know, it was nothing to us. It was to him, but not to us, because we just enjoyed seeing him compete. And I think to go in with an open mind as well, you know, just go with the flow. You know, don't get uptight about things. You know, everybody has good and bad days, and you have plenty of those during a swimming journey.
And you also have those in life as well. And I think that's something that very often, not just successful swimmers, but swimmers that stay in the sport for quite a long time, look back in their adult years and go, a lot of the things they've had to navigate as adults, they've actually learned through their swimming years. And obviously a lot of it's, of course, it's not life and death when you're in swimming, but actually when you have to navigate some quite personal challenges, perhaps in your adult years, those lessons of dealing with ups and downs in swimming, I think, help for that. Is that something?
Yeah. Yeah, the discipline as well. You know, like, I take my hat off to Adam, I really do, because he's got such good self-discipline. I wish I had some of it, I really do. You know, he's so focused as well. Like, I can be focused when I want to be, I'm not that bad, but he really is, and I think that has been taught all the way through his swimming. I think both Mal and I have a similar view that, you know, the discipline needs to be there, and there are boundaries. And then she sort of kept those boundaries in the pool, I kept them at home. But we did make a very good team because their bond is very close. I thought, well, who's the mum here initially? You know, because she was making decisions, and Adam was going with it. And I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm the parent, but I knew that she's doing it for, you know, for him to be the best. And that's what's being done. So, you know, when they do have their own coach, or they're in with the clubs, you've got to leave the coach to their job. parents' job is to get them there, take them home, feed them, provide them with the support around when things don't go so well. I think that is the job, and then obviously feeding them. I remember one time when he was 19, no, 20, was he 19 or 20? And he said, "Oh, I've got to change my diet." I says, "Well, you've gone this far with the food that I've been feeding you, so why do you need to change it now?" He says, that's the 1%, Mum, that I need. And then I just clicked then and think, well, yeah, okay. But as a mum, you feel that, what have I done wrong with the food? And because I think with most families, with mums, they like to feed, don't they? So when that came along, I had to adapt, and it cost a fortune. It really did. When he started to eat, like he's always eaten a lot anyway, but we didn't really notice it until he left. We're probably spending £150 a week on food, and there was only 3 of us in the house.
And £148 of that was him.
Yeah, mainly, yes. Like now, we've probably gone to a third, to what we used to spend when Adam was here. But no, it's all part of the fun, and it is a learning curve. And he talks about the psychology of it, and it is good. Before I sort of thinking, oh yeah, right, okay, but until you really listen to it, you don't properly understand, because there's so many support networks around the elite swimmers, isn't there? And that was a big learning curve for me as well. How much is around an elite swimmer.
Yeah, especially when they're perhaps not from that background of, like you say, you didn't have other swimmers or children that had gone through the swimming journey already, where you might have had an insight into what could have happened in the years ahead. When you kind of get dropped into it, and there's a nutritionist and a psychologist and an S&C and a lifestyle person and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's like, welcome to elite sport. But actually, there's nothing that really prepares you for that. Even when they're, younger, like you said, it's just fun. And how did you deal with, you've already mentioned about, not having tantrums and stuff like that, but like the winning aspect of it, because obviously every kid goes to a competition wanting to win, but in every race, only 1 out of 8 in a final is going to get the gold medal. So there must have been many competitions he went to as a youngster where he didn't win. And what was kind of the attitude from a parent point of view to kind of keep him motivated and interested?
I didn't really need to motivate him or keep him interested. He kept himself interested. He used to say, "I'll get them next time." This says target. They always had a target on the back. Like, he's the target now, but that's what he used to do. It didn't. There's only the once where I can say that he probably had a tantrum because he wanted this and it didn't work. And then it was dealt with, and then went on from there. But like I say, Mel's pretty good with that support as well. She's like, I don't interfere with what I never used to interfere with what Mel used to say. Like, she used to give him feedback after the race, this, that, and the other. Then he used to tell me, well, this is where he could have improved. But that's about it, really. One of our secrets is that we didn't talk about swimming at home, other than, are you ready for training? And I used to say to Adam quite frequent, "Adam, can I just lie in bed today, please? Lie in bed till 7, please." "No, Mum, champions aren't made in bed." That's what he used to say to me.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's him and Mel really that dragged me along.
That's
so,
fantastic.
They're both 2 strong characters, actually. You haven't got a chance in hell of going your own way between them 2.
You talk about character there, and do you think that's something that has kind of evolved over the years, not just in his swimming, but as a young man, that his character has been a big part of his success?
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. And his knees, of course, and his feet. His first swimming teacher said to me that, he's a breaststroker. And then the next one was Mel, where she said that he's something special. He will go to the Olympics and he will win a medal. And that was at 15. She knew then that he's got that potential. Like me, I just didn't believe a word of it. Do you know what I mean? I was just going along because Adam enjoyed the sport, as any parent would, you know, and I was putting all that in because he wanted to be the best he could be.
Relating it back to, I guess, more domestic stuff, because I was on deck when he first won nationals. What was that like as a parent? Kind of, was there any point during that journey as he was kind of coming out of the learning element, if you like, into like the real performance world, where you had a realization of, oh wow, this, he really is going on and doing things? Because obviously there's so many parents who, let's say for example, they're doing club championships, and then they go to their first counties, and then as a parent they're like, oh wow, this is the next step. So was there moments for you along that journey where you kind of had realizations of, oh, this is going really well, and did you have to kind of self-check to kind of not get carried away with it? Or how did you kind of deal with it as he kind of progressed through that pathway of competition?
Anybody that knows me knows that I don't get overexcited with things like that. I'm very much of a, I wouldn't say a flat person, but, you know, I can control my emotions pretty well. Well, I think when he went to his first open meet, no, actually, it was the first, do you know, the British Championships?
Yeah.
I think that was my first realisation. I can remember I was at home and I was ironing, and then there wasn't much live streaming at all at that point. And then one of my friends who shared some of the lifts, he took him and his son to there for the qualification time. And I know he had a really bad night because the door wouldn't lock or something like that. And then I had a telephone call that he'd got the qualification time. And that qualification time, and I think that is one memorable moment for me, because he wanted it so much. You know, and I think that was the first step, because he's up against some real elite swimmers, you know, a little skinny little lad, which he was, you know, against some really muscly you know, young men, and then think he hasn't got a chance in hell here, you know. But I've watched him go up the rankings. And one thing that I did enjoy doing is though checking the rankings and see where he was, and he was moving up each time.
Where did he start? Because I've heard him tell a story of what it was like when he was 14 or 15, and a lot of kids at events say to him, you know, where were you when you were younger? And he's like, I don't know, nowhere near like the top. Because very often we hit a lot of people going of, oh yeah, he's ranked, you know, first, second, third, whatever age it is. And actually he's like, it doesn't matter when you're young, like it's the long game. You know, I'm worried about what I'm going to be like when I'm 18, 19, 20.
Yeah. It was just like I was saying to you, he did it in steps. Target a person, doesn't matter where he was on the rankings, it's whatever race he was in, and that person was, because it was Craig Benson for one. I used to target him. Ross Murdoch used to target him, and the biggie was Cameron Vanderberg. It was him, and is it Keske Kijami? Him, that he was one of his idols, you know, and he's raced against him too. So, you know, as for me as a mum, I think, well, he's achieved all that, and we've all got lots of memories, you know, that of him competing at these competitions. But going back to you saying about when, you know, well, yeah, we're at the next step. I think the realization came was when we were at the Olympics. It still didn't hit me. Still didn't hit me until he won that gold medal at the Olympics, and then I cried because I couldn't believe it. So he was on the podium at that point. I think, wow, absolute wow, and the crowd, you know, the environment around, you know, and they're shouting Adam, you know, or Peaty, and I think I wish they'd use his first name, you know. And like we went to Italy, was it a couple of years ago?
Seti Colli.
That's it. We went there, and they're absolutely crackers for him. Really crackers, and you know, shouting his name. But one thing that I couldn't get used to, my patience. Now this is where my patience did go. Is waiting for him after a meet, because he had to go and see his fans, and we didn't see a lot of him anyway. We used to scrape probably 5 or 10 minutes, because that was one rule that we had. We wouldn't meet up during a meet unless I was with him, of course. You know, the early times I was with him, and we used to go off and get food and things. But since he's been in the senior meets. Well, no, we used to sort of catch him at the end of a pool, or if he'd got a race the next morning, we wouldn't see him. We wouldn't see him really till the last day. So there's a lot of self-discipline as a mum as well, that you can't. And I think that's one good thing actually to say to another parent, is that you haven't got access to your own child, because it doesn't matter how old he is. He's 25. You know, he's still my baby, but you haven't got access to him. You know, he's other people's. And I suppose it's not just in sport, is it? It's in any kind of, like, fame, really. But I think it is a lot to cope with, as you raise it. You know, riding through the ranks. You know, you've got people that are saying, "Oh, he's doing well," and then I'm thinking, well, then at one point I thought, well, I hope they're not going to be disappointed if he doesn't win. You know, like I was never disappointed, never. You know, he did what he's best, and that's all I can say to people. As long as your child does the best and be the best that they can be, what more can you ask?
That would have been my one question, I guess, to round off today, would have been if you can kind of give one overarching message to parents and just, try your best. And I can't remember who it was I came across, and someone said to me, from a parent's point of view, for a child being able to touch the wall and know they've done their best, and it doesn't matter whether they've come first, last, got disqualified, whatever it is, and actually parents just go, well done, great job. Is that something that you've obviously said it there, it's something that I think helps keep them engaged and also not ruin the parents from a part of this journey, because it can be quite an emotionally draining journey, I would imagine.
It is emotionally, yes, it is. And also, like, you not to be pushy. If they decide they don't want to swim anymore, they don't want to swim anymore. Because Adam did get to a point where he sort of questioned, well, where am I going? And I said, well, it's completely up to you. What do you want to do? It's their choice. We're running around like I don't know what, but it's them that are putting all that effort in, because I know for a fact I couldn't do what Adam's done with the training, the nutrition. Like he tells me, you've got to drink more water, this, that, and the other, and I couldn't do that. It has opened my eyes like that. It takes such a lot of discipline. It really does. It's not a sport that you can sort of sniff at, is it? It's you're going in to have fun, but you also want something at the end of it. And from Adam's experience, he wants something out of it, which is his medals, I suppose. Well, it's more like his times, really. He races against the times.
That's what happens when you're out in front.
Yeah.
Do you think, as a parent, like, your pride is so much more, despite obviously the public accolades he's got and all of the achievements he's got, do you find the pride is that the person he's become as an adult now, as opposed to just the Olympic champion? Actually, he's a good young man. Is that something, like, reflectively now you look back and think you almost value that if more than the achievements?
Yeah, he is a good young person. Like, sometimes that he does something that I don't like, and I will tell him. It doesn't matter, whether he's an Olympic champion or this, that, or the other. I will tell him. But I do like what he stands for. He's very much like for mental health, which is, crucial in the sport and also in real life, isn't it? So he does stand for a lot of good things, and that I am proud of. But I think people expect a lot of me, like bursting of joy and this, that, and the other. And I said, I am proud, but I'm also proud of my other children.
Yeah.
I think people forget that they have got brothers, and he has got a brother and a sister. I'm equally as proud, because they are all good young people. It doesn't matter that they're not champions. They're good mothers, they're good fathers, and they're there for each other, and they're there for the family. And that's all that I ask of my children, to be there for each other, to be there for other people, and to be, to be lovely to other people as well. What did I don't know what the word is that I need, but like Adam is, but when he comes home, he's a different person. He has his serious side, but none of you would recognise him when he was in his own environment with his brothers and his sister and the children. We had my grandson's second birthday. Was it second? No, it's my husband's 60th. We had all the grandchildren round. He was in the playhouse with the children, you know, playing with the children. And it's, you know, that's what I like. He still can get on the grass and roll about with, you know, his nieces and nephews. But I do wish he could have a bit more time, family time. But I suppose that will come once he's finished swimming.
It will indeed. Well, what a wonderful way to round that all off there. Some lovely thoughts shared. Caroline, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really, really insightful.
No, you're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you again there, Caroline. I hope everyone watching found that useful. There were certainly some fascinating points for everyone to take away. Just a quick reminder to everyone that we've got our parent support resources on our website. So just head to eastswimming.org, click on swimming and then swimming development, and you'll find lots more information there. We're going to keep adding more and more videos to our YouTube, so make sure you click subscribe and also follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Swim England East Region. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this resource from Swim England East Region.